Welcome back, race fans, to Off the Track podcast where you get the dirt. I'm Levi Ray Gotze, and we are here at Blue Chip Technologies Racing Engines. We are a high-performance race engine shop located right here in Heltonville, Indiana. And today we have joining us on the show Hot Rod Roddy Harris and Bradley Sterrett. Welcome, guys.
Thanks a lot. Got Bradley here trying to steal my thunder already, you know it?
Yeah, he snuck right in on you.
I said I wanted to be over there in the corner.
That's all right, Bradley.
Yeah.
You stolen everything else.
Yeah. He's good about that.
He is, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So how we doing, Levi?
Oh, pretty good. We're really excited to get to find out that you was going to be able to join us down here today. And Bradley coordinated that with Edgar, and of course you call him David.
Yeah, he'll always be David to me.
There you go.
He's about this close not to making it. I took it real hard to left, and I was going to reach over and
I thought you was going to say about how tall David was.
I did too. I thought that's where it was going. I really did.
Yeah, I think I made a short joke on my podcast about him too.
Yeah.
Sorry, David.
He's going to get those short jokes. You know, he's a Gotze, so
Yeah.
we're all
right.
used to it. So everything we do out here in the shop, you know, we build things and we do a lot of things, and half our guys are either really tall or then there's the half that's Gotzes, you know, where you're constantly pulling up a footstool or a step trying to reach something. But yeah, we're used to it.
I understand.
Yeah. Well, we thought we'd get you down here and talk about some dirt racing.
I appreciate you having me down here.
Yeah. So let's get to know the Harris family and the start in the dirt racing.
Well, I would have to say that would started with my Uncle Clyde back in probably the mid-'60s.
Yeah.
And then Dad come along in '69. And, of course, then there's Poodle. Now, I'm not real sure what year Poodle started. I'm going to say mid to late 70s, because I do know that Poodle had some race cars, but Dad drove it, and they kind of took turns back and forth. But when you get into the Harris family, it's about like the Gotzes. We branch out, you know.
Right.
So we've got a lot of different ones, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, myself, you got Danny Joe, then it branches out to the sister's son, Tyler Waltz, and then goes up to Greenwood. You know, we got Dad's other brother, Buck, his grandson, and then great-grandson, and his son raced go-karts. So, the Harrises kind of branch out there, you know.
Right.
Just about like the Gotzes.
Oh, yeah. Right.
There's several of us out there.
Yeah. So, you growing up watching your dad wheel, so he done it for a long time.
Yeah, and that's probably, I never got to see Clyde race all that much, and then I really didn't get to see Dad race a whole heck of a lot, you know. Of course, I was young back when he kind of sort of quit, but, like in the 70s when he was at his prime, I really didn't get to see a whole lot of that. I mean, I probably did, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, you was just a little too young.
Right, and then in the early 80s, he was driving for Dave Kerr and Boo Cow, so I do, remember that and all that stuff.
Right.
And in the late 80s.
Yeah. So, growing up, watching the family being involved in the sport, at what age were you whenever you decided that you was going to try to get behind the wheel of a car?
Well, when I was, a young kid, I was wanting to drive a go-kart,
Okay.
And I'd have to thank my cousin Daryl for getting me started in that, because my dad said, I hate go-karts and I'm not going, So Daryl, and he got me started in that, and then in 1990, see, Dad's last year was 89, had his own car, and then I bought mine off of Brad Barr in 1990.
Okay.
So my first year was 1991, and then that's when me and Dad actually got really close and started racing together, and of course I drive some, he drives some.
Okay.
And then he drove for Rod Porter, so it was kind of fun to, actually get to race against your dad.
Right.
We didn't get to do it a whole lot.
Yeah, I can relate to that. At an early age, I was fortunate enough that back then it was bombers, and me and Dad, we got to run against each other several times, and it was nice.
It's kind of neat, you get to run against your dad. I run against Poodle,
Right.
And it's kind of fun.
Oh yeah, it puts clearly anybody that's racing a car is always wanting to win. That competitive edge is always there, but when you're out there and there's a family member involved, you really got to win.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sure me and Daniel have a little rivalry back in high school.
Yeah.
I want to outrun Danny Joe. Danny Joe probably wanted to outrun me.
Yeah.
But I got one picture at home that I treasure, and it's not really that good, but it's me and Dad together. Yeah. Actually, there's like 5 cars, and I always told Dad, I said, "Look, I'm ahead of you."
He was out in front.
Yeah, I was ahead of him.
That's great.
So
that's good.
Do you remember the last time you drove a go-kart?
It was yours, Bradley. And you know what?
Hell.
No, it didn't.
He just didn't have a body panel left on the thing.
You didn't have him zip tied on there very good.
Were we racing or just backyarding it?
Monroe County Fair.
Okay. How long ago was this?
And Bedford Fair.
And Bedford, yeah.
I think Bedford's where you tore it up, wasn't it?
No, Bedford's when I passed Jeffrey for second, spun it out, still come back and got third.
Was it Monroe County where you hit
I
the
think
hay bales?
It might have been.
Sounds like the go-karts have been a little rough on you.
Setup guy.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Think about it. I'm 200 pounds. Bradley back then was 110.
Oh, okay. He was a little bitty.
Little bitty guy, so I had to.
I was probably 13 or 14.
Yeah, he's just a little bitty guy,
So you guys have known each other for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Bradley's he's like my little brother. Still like to punch him more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he probably needs it every once in a while. So going back to, you bought your first car from Brad Barrow.
Mm-hmm.
So did you and Brad already know each other pretty well? Just being around the racetracks and stuff?
Okay. I've known Brad a long time. Obviously, when Dad was running, Ernie was running late models, and then my dad was driving for Dave Kerr and Boo Cow. They had a limited late model, so they raced together. So I think Brad was a little luckier than I was. He got to go to the pits more than I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've known Brad for a long time, the whole Barrow family. So
Right. They're all good people.
Yeah, they are.
I had a lot of memories myself with Ernie and Gary as a child, being around Grandpa. They were all really good friends and good, real good people. Matter of fact, I remember Ethan, just whenever he was probably 4, 5 years old, running around Paintown Campground.
Right.
He'd be up there with his grandpa. And
Yep.
And they're really good people, and Brad's he's a wheel man too.
Yeah, he is. In fact, I just hung out with Brad last night, as a matter of fact, for a little bit.
That's good. So, what was the type of car that you got? Was it a super stock?
It was a street stock. It was called a street stock back then, and
right.
I think I gave him $250 for it.
Yeah.
Damn.
They were a little cheaper back then.
Yeah, I think it was a Greg Benton car, as a matter of fact.
Was that complete?
No.
Roller?
Barely.
Yeah.
Barely a roller again.
Right.
He took about everything off of it, but we got it together anyways.
Yeah. So what was the first track you ever actually driven on?
I'm going to have to say it was probably Bloomington.
Yeah. It's interesting how many people that we've talked to that was their first track.
Bloomington and Paragon back in the day.
Yeah.
What was the place, you're headed to Terre Haute? Is that 135 that was over there off to the left-hand side? You know what I'm talking about?
Back behind that old building?
Yeah, what was
I know
that
where
place?
you're
Sweet
talking
Owen?
about.
Sweet Owen. Yeah,
Yeah.
you used to run there too.
No, I never run there.
Oh, you didn't? I
No.
thought you did.
I think the last year they ran, it was 1987.
Been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you can still kind of picture it.
Yeah.
Because anytime we're driving by there, Dad will bring it up because I'm pretty sure Grandpa used to run there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how many tracks that have shut down back in that time frame or time era. But you can always tell, especially when someone's got a good story to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Grandpa, he can point out to you where the one was down, like in Mitchell, on the way down 37.
Where the Blue Flame gas or whatever
it is.
there.
Like, okay, it's kind of hard to picture, but sometimes I can visualize it sometimes. And of course, they had that track out in Greene County whenever I was a child.
No, I raced there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I have raced there a couple times.
Yeah.
Even before.
He owned it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It was a mud bog.
Yeah. I remember being there. Of course, I was 10 years old when they were trying to get that place up and going, and they were putting a lot of time and effort into it. But there's a long story there.
Right. But yeah, I ran there when your grandpa had it.
Mm-hmm. So you guys were running the street stock division, and as time progressed. I don't know what time frame you got into deciding you was going to start owning a modified or even driving one.
Well, see, my last year in street stock was 96, I believe, and up in Indianapolis, with Thanksgiving, we always had the Dave Dayton sale. So one year we decided to go down to, I believe it was Charlie Sentman's. I could be wrong, but down in Louisville.
Yeah.
So me, Dad, and Poodle went down there, and then we bought a modified off a guy down there. So
back in like late 90s, so 96, 97
yeah,
probably.
It was in end of 96
Okay.
or Thanksgiving weekend. So then 97 was my first year in the modified division. Yeah.
So what was your thoughts whenever you first wheeled a modified after coming from a street stock?
It wasn't a whole lot of different because back then it was still leaf spring
cars.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you start getting into the 4 bars. It changes the whole game, don't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
We started, me and Dad was, I wasn't rich enough to cheat, So we got these carbon fiber leaf springs, and Dad duct tapes them all up, so make you think his leaf springs still,
Yeah.
But it never helped me, not with my driving.
Yeah.
But
well, you've done it several years. I mean,
I have.
To be a car owner and a driver, I mean, you've got a lot of great memories as far as at the racetrack with your family and friends, and I know you've had Brad Barrow run for you.
Yeah, well, and how that kind of got started was Brad was leading the, what was that series called? Wolfpack series.
Okay.
And I think he blowed his motor or whatever, so then he needed a ride, to finish out the series, so
yeah.
I told him he could drive mine, so we went that direction, and it's actually kind of fun. We last 2 races, I think, was up at camp and then up at Whitewater.
Yeah.
So we got to borrow Kent Robinson's toter home.
Yeah.
So we thought that's kind of cool, or at least I did anyways,
Absolutely.
Get take a toter home now.
Right.
We get up to camp, and then we leave there, and we go to a hotel. And, of course, JB, being JB, we order a bunch of pizzas. We're sitting out in the parking lot waiting on $5 Domino's pizzas,
Yeah.
And we actually went and got some beer. And as I come back,
wait a minute. Harris got beer?
Yeah. Well, we didn't have any. We had to go get some.
Okay.
So as we come back, I'm looking at Kent's rig. And then I'm looking at this toter home. And I thought my trailer looked big behind my dually or whatever.
Right.
And I look at my trailer behind that toter home, and I'm like, my God, that thing looks small, But that was pretty cool. We got to meet Patrick Shelter and all that.
Yeah.
And, it was pretty cool.
That's good memories. And JB, I've heard several people talk about him over the years. Personally, I never met him. Really never had that pleasure of meeting him, but how dedicated he was to racing and what all he done for the sport.
Yes, most definitely.
Definitely nice to, have those memories with him, I'm sure. So you guys have had Brad running the car for you, Barrow, and then I know Bradley's driven. When did you get started racing for Rod?
Well, that's right after about that impressive, wasn't it?
15?
Yeah.
16?
No, probably something like that. Yeah.
Somewhere right around there.
Somewhere right in that area. We just kind of, me and Brad teamed up there for a while, and then he got, started driving the late model
stuff. Yeah.
So then I just bought that impressive, and Bradley sold all his stuff, so I kind of brought Bradley over. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember. I know what you guys are going to do this coming season as far as putting John in the seat. But has John ever driven for you?
Yeah, Johnny D drove for me last year. Kent was going to Kent Robinson actually done a lot of work on it last year, him and Jason. And unfortunately, first night at Bloomington, I believe it was a Josh Burton Memorial.
Yeah.
Got in a wreck. Just a couple laps in that.
Yeah. I think I remember that.
Tore up a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, tore up a bunch of stuff. So we had to take it back out to Impressive and get it worked on. And then, unfortunately...
Was that the same night that Watson got his car destroyed?
So Watson that's what happened. He spun and then
okay.
Yeah,
Watson.
I was there that night.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
They both. It was a pretty bad deal.
Yeah, I do. I recall that.
his
Because
car
there was
got-
a lot of good cars there that night, too.
Yeah.
It was a big race for the mods.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, after that, with Kent running his series, the time I got mine back together, we really couldn't hook up the link up,
Right.
to get Kent back in behind the wheel. So got Johnny D over there to help work on everything.
So he ended up actually driving a little bit for you last year. Yeah. So you guys have had 3 phenomenal drivers behind the wheel of the 9H car for several years then, really, as far as these guys.
You going to say Kent, Brad Barrow, and John DeMoss?
Yeah, how's it going to go?
Yeah, no kidding.
Every time I drive for him, it's always, Brad Barrow wouldn't have done that, or John DeMoss, Kent wouldn't have done that, this and that. And
that's
well,
just
those
because
are
of
big
you.
shoes to fill.
But then I felt better when Brad Barrow says, he does the same thing to me, except it's the other way around.
Right. Well, you got to play those strategies, right?
Well, heck yeah.
Well, I mean, he got to destroy your goat kart, So,
and he's destroyed my race car, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'd say price-wise, he's probably
What
up
car
on
did I destroy?
Name it. Which one? Which one have you not?
I blew a motor.
Yeah.
Just one?
I think just one.
Okay.
I think. I don't know that I've destroyed any. I mean, I've wrecked.
Yeah.
I've destroyed.
It happens.
I'll tell you what.
It happens.
One thing I'll never forget. He passed Chad Combs at Bloomington.
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 times. Still got beat by Chad Combs.
Well, Chad Combs is he's a wheel man. He gets up on that wheel and
He does. I'm not taking nothing away from
especially
Chad.
at Bloomington.
I'm not taking nothing away from Chad. I'm just saying.
But he did pass him 3 times.
It was
Over the bank. Get up past Chad. Over the bank Bradley went.
new car.
Over the bank Bradley.
Different.
Over the bank Bradley.
He gave me crap about that forever. I could get around it, but it was just I was trying to pass him clean.
Yeah.
And I just kept running off the track and getting back.
And Chad never messed up. Chad kept his line. It was just all Bradley.
I just couldn't, I could have got around him, but it was going to be dirty.
Right. Keep it clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, going back to like the night Watson spun out in front of the field. I mean, it's easy to do for any of us.
I've done it.
Anybody to say they haven't is full of crap.
Exactly.
You do everything you can to race everybody as clean as you can.
Right.
Not just for the financial side of it, but for the fact of keeping the respect. And, you got to earn that respect as far as running against a clean driver. I mean, there's nothing better than door-to-door action. Me and Steve Hawkins talked about that one night. He was just saying that you could be racing, having your funnest race running 12th position or, at the middle of the field or whatever. I mean, door-to-door action, a few inches apart, there's nothing better than that, especially whenever it's a guy that you can do that with. And, I mean, that's what most of the guys try to do. And then there's those nights where something happens or, you could just go in a little too hard and hit a guy in the rear end or it's simple. It's tough to do sometimes.
No, everybody makes mistakes out there.
Right. So what would you say over all these years of racing and owning your own car and having these great drivers behind the wheel has been one of the most memorable races for you guys?
Well, I'd have to say our 2017 season, Bradley, I didn't realize this, but he said he wanted to win a championship, and I said, that obviously would be, awesome. So
right.
We set out to try to do that, and we actually did do that, or I should say he did that at Bloomington Speedway, and then was kind of getting ready for 2018, and then the bottom kind of fell out of it,
Yeah.
With my dad passing away in June.
Yeah.
Which was just getting started, actually, and Dad was diagnosed with cancer in May and then passed away that June. So that kind of put a damper on my race, and I really didn't care if I went back to the racetrack or not.
Yeah.
But 2017 was probably one of my biggest highlights.
Yeah.
And then probably the race-wise with Bradley driving, Eldora, we
He's got to go to Eldora.
No, I know, but I'm going to say good things here, you know.
I didn't talk about this when I talked about Terre Haute.
Yeah, Terre Haute, they all make me nervous, you know.
Yeah.
But Eldora, Bradley, you know, he won his heat race, you know, and Jacob Hawkins run second to Bradley, you know, and I thought, you know, by God, that means something right there, you know. Of course, what I wanted to do was run back to the grandstand and watch it, you know, drink a beer with Dad, you know.
Right.
But the heat race I couldn't, and Bradley had me dizzy and all that. But anyways, Bradley wants to talk about Terre Haute. Man,
Yeah.
that's kind of a different story. He made me mad.
You going to finish the Eldora story?
Well, that's where it went bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were light at the scales.
Light at the scales and
Pulled the old Bloomquist.
Somebody forgot to
put fuel in it.
put fuel in the
Yeah.
car. We ran
It wasn't me.
top 5 the whole race. We were battling back and forth. We were in third forever.
Yeah.
And then they figured it out. We were like, there's no way we're light. And they measured it. There was an inch of fuel in the car. So,
Yeah.
But I scaled because it was such a, I mean, we were all, and I thought there was potential for me to be top 5.
Right. Right.
So last thing I want to do is,
Yeah.
you idiot, why didn't you scale?
Why do you- you're
so,
right.
you know, I've
One
I've
guy-
always done that. One guy doesn't,
Yeah.
he scaled or whatever.
Absolutely.
And so instead of, you know, 7th at that big race, and I don't know how much he was going to pay, we got a DNF.
Yeah.
Disqualification, actually.
But I'd probably have to go
Dang.
back to another memorable night.
Yeah.
Would be, as a car owner, Brad Barrow got us our first feature win at Brownstown.
Yeah.
But they give it a tie to
Oh, yeah, I remember
Double
that.
B and Matt Botnick.
Is that right?
Tie.
Wow.
You know,
this is the first tie I've ever even heard of at Brownstown.
I think they said that was the second one in Brownstown's history.
Is that right? Wow, that's definitely interesting.
Yeah, so they took first place money and second place and divided it right down the middle. But
Wow.
Brad and Matt Botnick had to sit in the infield, you know, the rest of the night because they couldn't make up their mind what they were gonna do. So the dead even tie.
Wow.
Didn't you have to go up to the tower and...
I think Brad went up there. I didn't have to.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That is wild. I can't
Yeah.
say I've ever even heard of a tie over there. I mean,
So-
I know we all, you know, there's close nights where a guy might finish a foot or two in front of one or the other,
But
but
now we've got transponders.
yeah,
You know?
it proves all of it, don't it?
Yeah, right, exactly.
As long as they're where they're supposed to be.
I think the transponders where the Terre Haute thing come in play.
Ah,
You know, Bradley.
yeah.
Here we are
Speaking
over
of.
there. Yeah. So USAC has you put the transponders on the mid plate.
Yep.
So Bradley's off doing what he does best, you know,
Oh,
walking to
there
the
we
pit
go.
area, you know,
Waving,
just look,
signing
looks like a
autographs.
4th of July parade queen walking out through
Right.
there. So I put the transponder on. He comes up there and he says, "Why are you putting it there for?" "I don't go there." And I said, "That's where they told me to put it." He said, "It does not go there."
Mm-hmm.
And he
Goes
said,
on the rear end.
Yeah. Then he said, "You know what? I'm not putting up to your attitude. I'm going to tell you like I tell my dad. I don't need you. Go to the grandstands." I said, "Fine, I will."
Yeah.
There might have been a few other words there.
Right.
So when I
remember
get
it
up
like
there,
this.
I get up there, and then the longer I sat there, the madder I got because I didn't have any beer with me.
You did.
I did, but it was in the truck.
Yeah.
And
You wasn't going back down to the
no
truck.
way. I swallowed my pride, so I drunk.
You drunk grandstand beer.
I did and had to pay
$8
for it, and
beers.
it wasn't even my flavor.
Yeah.
So
$8 beers probably.
I think you actually run.
I
You
won
run
the heat
good.
race, and then that made him. Then he wasn't mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
But
it
I
was
still didn't go
okay.
back to the pit area except to drive us home.
Yeah. Well, you know, the half-mile tracks they always bring on an exciting night anyways. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
It's like, I know me personally, I love the half-mile tracks. I mean, I wish we had one a lot closer, but, you know, driving Terre Haute isn't too bad.
No,
Of course, Eldora, it's a bit of a haul. But what would you guys have to say is your favorite half-mile track as far as a car owner or a
Well,
driver?
I tell you what, I've drove Terre Haute and I've drove Eldora both.
Yeah?
And to me, seems like you run faster at Terre Haute down the straightaways, but Eldora, you're in a constant,
Right.
you know.
I feel the same way. Yeah. I know me personally at Terre Haute, it feels like them straightaways just get longer and longer.
You're not a kid.
Every lap.
Yes.
I like Terre Haute, but I think it's because I've won there.
Yeah.
But I also like Eldora too.
Mm-hmm.
I think Terre Haute takes a little more finesse because you really got to back your corner up because you have so much straightaway speed and the corners are so flat.
Mm-hmm.
And if it gets slick, you really got to watch because you'll
overdrive.
Yeah. So, but as to whereas Eldora's got a little bit of banking, there's a little bit of room for air, if you will.
Right.
But I remember him. I'd never been to Eldora, and I remember him talking about how cool it was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, heck, I just had went there when I was like 15 or 16. Yeah. And he said, whenever you roll out there on the track, you know, it's just a big bowl and you got everything.
Yeah.
You know, everything's you know, it's one of the neatest things as a driver when you get out there. Mm-hmm. You know, so when I went, it was pretty cool. The first time I'd ever went there was with Kent.
Yeah.
Went to, was it the World or something? You were there.
Probably
too.
the World
Yeah.
100.
Yeah.
If I was there, it was the World 100.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that place is just absolutely amazing. I mean, what that man thought of back in them days and put that place together. I mean, I know Tony owns it now, but I mean, it's crazy how fast them cars are going around.
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as a driver being out there in the modified, you know, I've never driven a late model on that track, but in the modified, I mean, it's really fast, but when you're sitting in the stands watching the World 100, it's just amazing. I mean, how fast they really are going. It's incredible. But, yeah, like the banking and everything, like when you pull in there to pull down into the infield and park, it's crazy, you know. I remember being pretty young. This goes back to like the late 90s, watching like whenever it would rain, and them guys were trying to get them toter homes out of there. Of course, a lot of guys back then still had dualies. And
Right.
I remember watching one of them guys trying to go up out there, and it was pretty slick, and he lost traction, ended up backing it down in the inside wall and tore up the trailer, jackknifed the rig, and then they had 2 or 3 tractors hooked up to it trying to get him on out of there. But it's definitely an impressive facility. I mean, they've got it together. What's your favorite track food over there?
Over there?
Yeah.
Well, at Eldora, I'd probably have to say I usually get like the chicken tenders or the spicy cheese balls.
Cheese balls.
Yeah.
Those are good.
Yeah. I've got to try the cheese balls. Everybody goes on about them.
Pizza burgers.
That
like
and the
most
pizza
people say.
burger.
I've never had
Yeah,
one,
I
but
haven't
those
either.
cheese balls are.
I try to stay away from pizza for the most part because my heart burns so bad. The
Right.
older I've gotten, the worse it gets.
I got sick on one of them. I haven't had one since.
Oh, really?
Now, the night that we was over with Kent, I reached down there to get I think it was a barbecue, you know.
Yeah.
And I reached down to get it. There was 2 left, and I reached down to grab one, and this guy beside me reached down. He grabbed them both, and he said, "Oh, here, did you want one of them?" I said, "No, go ahead, man. You can have it."
Yeah.
Well, it was Tony.
No,
You know,
was it?
Tony himself, you know.
Yeah.
So I was like, "No, go ahead, man. It's your track. You can have it."
Yeah.
You know, but he offered to give it back to me. But
Yeah.
like,
He's
no.
a pretty nice guy, really.
Yeah, he
isn't
is. I actually met Tony when he worked at Ski World. So
Is that right?
yeah, and he actually remembered me. So
Yeah. I think that, I don't know for sure, but I think David and him used to work there together at one point. I think that's how they met, and then they used to race go-karts against each other
Right.
also.
him and I had a grudge match, and he passed me on the last lap. But
David?
No,
Or Tony. Tony?
yeah, and then he was just getting started, you know, and
Yeah.
Dad and I was leaving Bloomington one night, and he jumped on the side of the Suburban, and Tony was driving a little Ford Escort, and the battery was dead, so Dad had to jump start him, you know.
Okay.
So
Well, that's
stuff
awesome.
you never hear, you know.
No.
That's cool stuff. That,
Yeah. Tony Stewart, by the
Yeah.
way, is who we're talking about.
right.
Yeah.
So Dad
he
gave him
owes
a
you.
jump start, you know,
Yeah.
driving a Ford Escort.
Right. That's memories right there. I mean, just simple things like that.
Of course, when he jumped on the Suburban, Dad jumped plumb over in my lap, you know, because he
Scared
jumped
him.
on the running board and scared Dad to death.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, a few of my family members go pretty far back with Tony, and you know, me personally, I still have not actually ever had a conversation with him. I've been close to him a few times, but he don't know who I am. That's for
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really cool what he's done as far as jumping back in the dirt world more so,
right.
And owning the track and being that involved. You got guys like Kenny Wallace and all them guys that keep the dirt, going so strong. Ken Schrader and all them guys.
Absolutely.
It's really cool that that they have done what they've done in their careers, but yet they really enjoy the dirt life so much that that's where their heart's really at.
Right. I think the first time I ever run with Kenny Wallace was just getting back into his, or just getting started in dirt. It was Kenny Schrader and Kenny Wallace's NASCAR night at Terre Haute, and I was over there, and I started side by side Kenny Wallace in the B main actually, and I beat Kenny Wallace. I didn't make the show, but Kenny Wallace makes the show, and boy, my dad was ticked. Just because he's Kenny Wallace, you know what?
What gives him? Yeah.
Why does he get to start the show? I said, well, Dad, it's who he is. I'm sure he got paid to come here.
Right.
So couldn't make Dad understand that. But in a sense, it doesn't make sense.
No,
right.
That always pisses me off. I don't like provisionals either.
Yeah, I never have either.
It's you got to earn your way into the race, and
I believe that too.
Just not just because who you are. And like he said, you got a guy out here doing it, and trying to keep their car going and stuff.
Yeah.
And if he'd have made the race, that would have put a lot more money in their pocket.
Well, you look at it this way too. If they took, if they're starting 22 cars at Terre Haute, and they're taking 4 other B main, and you run 5th, but yet they could have took 5, but instead they knocked the guy out because you're going to put.
You got to guarantee him as
well. Yeah.
Provisional.
Right.
I'm not a big provisional guy either. So
one thing that I hate is when you go to a track, and I don't even know where this happened at last year, but we were sitting somewhere, and they wanted to run a B main, and they even had to wait on some of the cars to get on the track, and I think there was like 3 or 4 of them. Why? I'm over here like, what are we doing? First lap, those few are going to be out anyways. Like, put 22 or 23 cars out there and let them start the show.
Are we talking about pet peeves now? I've got one. I've got a pet peeve.
Let's hear it.
So we all wear receivers now.
Oh, yeah.
And it pisses me off.
Yeah.
Whenever we're coming off of turn 2 down the backstretch, when we've got receivers and you can turn the light off and we can go green.
Mm-hmm.
But there's tracks that will wait until you come back all the way
to give you that
around.
one to go.
Gotta give you the one to go here.
Brownstown's good about not doing that.
Brownstown is awesome.
They are on it.
I have told tracks that they need to come.
Yeah.
Because they won't wait
wear
on
a receiver and watch them perform. And
they're yelling at you inside, outside, inside, outside. We're going green. It's like, thank you. I don't need to run around here 10 more times.
Right.
Let's roll on, because people don't understand it with racing. It's so much work, and that's kind of where Roddy's kind of, his dad did a lot through the week.
Yeah.
And it's a full-time job, and
absolutely
we need to get home.
Yeah.
Because some of us have to work the next day, or we're going to get the car ready and go race again.
Right.
To where we don't want to be here at midnight.
Right.
We want to get out of here at 9:30 or 10.
Yeah.
So we can get home, get some rest.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that drives me nuts when I go to these racetracks and they just drag it out and drag it out and drag it out to sell hot dogs.
Right.
Because there's times where I won't go to a track because I'm just like, it'll be 1 o'clock before I get home, and it's 45 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
It's like, it's ridiculous. Like said, they're running. Why run a B main when you can run 22 cars? What's the big deal? It's 2 more cars.
Yeah. That I think that could have been like a pure stock. I don't know. I was sitting in the stands watching, so all I'm looking at is the guys that's sitting in the lineup chute waiting for that 2 or 3 car B main to get over with.
Right.
And I'm thinking that race should already be on the track.
Yeah.
But I understand too. It's a lot easier to sit on the sidelines and
absolutely
try to,
on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's reasons why.
Yeah, it might be to buy the guys that are getting their cars ready that much more time. And it all just plays out how it does sometimes. But one thing that a lot of times I ask myself is if tracks would be better off doing after a guy wins a race and crosses the scales, and I realize everybody's all hyped up. They just got that win, and then they do the victory lane photos and talk to the driver. I mean, it's great that we can do that as owners, drivers, and track. But sometimes I wonder if it would be, better to, on them nights where things are rolling late, especially, it's just wait and then do each division after the show. Because some of those people sitting in them stands are little kids and it's cold, or elderly people that are sitting up there freezing their hind ends off also. But maybe on the cold nights when the weather's not perfect, they could do something like that. But, like I said, we all have those things in our heads that
Opinions.
might not be the best for the sport. But so who all helps you guys out on the car through the week? Now, speaking about your dad, he was known by many here in the dirt world. I mean, a true hero lost, and he's moved on to a better place now. And I know that you've had a tough road, Roddy, and him always taking care of the car and helping you guys with it. I'm sure it's been tough not having him in the shop with the car.
The thing, think about it with Dad was him and my buddy Dink, which was, I should say, Dad's buddy Dink. They was a body man, If Bradley tore the body off of it, which he did about every night.
Yeah.
I'd come home, whatever, from work, and Dad and Dink would already have the body
straightened out,
and I hate body work.
Yeah, me too.
I absolutely hate it. But they always done all that, which made it easier on me because I was usually the guy who had to load the car, load the tools, drive it to the racetrack,
right,
and do tire grinding, and whatnot, So it's kind of to share the duties, and then
Am I chopped liver on this deal?
No, you're good.
Okay,
you're good. You ain't fried chicken either, but you're still good. After Dad passing away, I just kind of took the wind out of my sail,
Yeah, I bet.
And then,
and like you said, it made it to where you didn't care if you went back to the track.
Right.
What changed your mind on that? Was it the friends and family at the track?
What would Dad want me to do?
Yeah.
One of them type deals.
Right.
Dad would want to keep racing, so we did, and then AJ Bolin had gotten with me, and we started the Rod Harris Memorial at Bloomington, and then which was kind of cool.
That was awesome. Yeah.
And Joe Spiker, now that he's taken over Bloomington, he's still going to
continue that.
He's going to continue that. You're right.
That's
so
great.
I think that's pretty cool of Joe and everything. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Thank AJ for getting it started.
Right.
It is pretty neat. So.
Yeah. Oh no, that's great. Your dad was around the sport. Everyone knows the Harrises. I mean, you guys have all been around the racetrack for as long as I can remember, clearly. But that's got to mean a lot to you, knowing that, your dad made that big of an impact on racing.
And it does, and I miss my dad every day,
Absolutely.
Of course. To me, it seems like my life has just been turned upside down these past 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to quit this year.
Yeah.
And Bradley's tried to talk me into quitting.
Mm-hmm.
And I just keep thinking, well, that's what I enjoy. And John still wants to race. And I told him, that since I got diagnosed with glioblastoma, brain cancer, and I thought, I'm just going to quit. And then John talked me into staying in it. And I said, I'm not much help.
Yeah.
So it's whatever you want to do. So we got some other guys coming along. I guess Jeremy Pennington's coming on and going to help John with the car and everything. In fact, John got the car Saturday. So we're just going to try to get it back out,
Yeah. Well, that's great that, you've got the help that it's going to take to keep the car going. That way, hopefully you can just show up.
Right.
And enjoy the spectator side of
Having
it.
the 9 car on the track.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
Yeah. And it's not that I didn't want him. I just want what's best for Roddy.
Right.
Right.
It's not, it's back to that full-time job thing. He couldn't do it then.
Right.
He can't do it now.
Exactly.
So to me, I was just,
Yeah.
if he wanted to sell it or raffle it off or whatever,
Right.
I told him I'd help him do it.
Right.
Because he still wants to go, or, my thought was, we'll pay somebody to put, the 9H on their car, and
sponsor.
But it's not the same.
Yep. I get it. I mean.
So we're going to do it one more year. I've got my buddy Rick Hawkins, he still comes out and helps,
Yeah.
But like I said, right now it's a John, so we'll just take it this year and run with it and see what happens.
In the DeMoss family, when I was young, growing up, I ran modifieds at a really early age. I was 16, 17 years old driving. I ran against Clint and John. They were brothers, of course. And I'm not sure, but which one of their sons is it that races now?
Caleb, that's John.
That's John's son.
Right.
Okay, because I know we ran against him some last summer, and I never was sure because sometimes John was driving it, I believe. Did John drive that car?
I don't believe he did this year, no.
No? Okay, well then.
I think John's just kind of been, he did it for so long, and his son wanted to do it, so he's kind of facilitating that. But
yeah.
I feel like Johnny D's going to be, he's going to be back, and he's very motivated. Yeah. And he's out to prove that he can still do it.
Right.
And I know he can.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm sure.
A lot of it, there's a lot of stuff, that it takes to make a team work.
Yeah.
And I think he wants this for Roddy, and not only that, but
yes, exactly,
for himself.
Right.
Hey, I can still get out here. He's always talking about us young bucks, this and that.
Yeah.
It's kind of to prove to himself and everyone else that he can still come out here and win races,
and to put that 9H car in victory lane.
Yeah. So I think he's really determined, and I'm excited to see.
Yeah.
What he's gonna do.
Yeah, me too, and I'm sure he'll do well. I know as a, young driver then, he was phenomenal. Of course, I don't even think that was whenever he was at his prime peak, or however you want to look at it. But I mean, he was both of them, Clint and John. If I had a night where I was door-to-door action with them guys, I knew I was having a really good night.
Right.
I mean, and like Ray Humphrey, and now.
Yeah.
The Humphrey, the younger generation's doing it. The DeMoss is, again, younger generation. And that's what's really cool about this sport is when you pull into pits and you're rolling through and you're seeing, that,
people's kids you raced with. Yeah.
And that's so cool. I mean, I've been around it for a while, of course. There's been 3 generations.
I was about to say, the Gotzi's been around a long time, too,
Yeah. Of course, Grandpa, he can tell you stories that go way back, but
oh yeah,
it's always nice hearing his stories. I'm gonna get him in here one of these days.
Yeah, I just seen him here a couple of weeks ago, as a matter of fact, about a month ago.
Yeah, that's good. Well, he's a character.
Yes, he is. Denzel Ray.
Yeah. So, who's all on the car this year for this coming season as far as sponsors go?
This year, I'm not real sure. Haven't really talked to anybody, but Tommy Ramon he's always there with us, with Ramon Excavating and Trucking, and Dave Umfrus Masonry. Brad, you're going to help me out here. RWM, Economy Termite Pest Control, of course. Bradley's over here.
Yeah, I see him.
And Robertson... Tile.
Is it?
Isn't that what it is? Robertson Tile.
Yeah. Kenny's
Tavern and Myers.
Yeah.
Travis Kern
Racing Engines, and what's Judd's Myers?
Myers Outdoor Maintenance.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quite a list.
Yeah, there is a pretty good sized list.
That's good.
It takes that to do it.
It sure does.
It does.
I mean,
people don't realize that, but it does.
We talked. No. It doesn't matter if someone gives you $100, you appreciate it.
That's right. Yeah, every little bit helps.
I mean, you think about it, a tire now, it's $130.
Mm-hmm.
And with Bradley, that'd last you one night.
Right.
So
if you're lucky.
Right.
He's referring to the last night at Brownstown. I'm sure your tire was junk too.
Oh yeah, it was definitely hard on tires.
Yeah, it was
for sure. And that track can always be hard on tires, it seems like.
It just ain't, Bradley. I've actually had a slew of drivers climbing that 9H, and I've actually had people call me, hey, can I drive your car? You're it kind of got to the point where people, you know, I'm not saying this to be mean, but people thought it was just like a open door policy, you know.
Right.
Come to the pit area, you can drive the 9H car, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, from what I've seen from it is that, you know, you probably, I mean, you got to really enjoy being the car owner side of it as far as, you know, putting these guys in the seat. And, you know, as a driver, there's a lot of stress that comes into play for a driver to race. Because, you know, not just for yourself, but for anyone that helps you. You want to do as well as you can. And not saying that it is a lot easier just being a car owner, but as a car owner, you get to, you know, put someone in the seat that you believe in.
Exactly.
And then you get to watch who you enjoy to drive.
Right.
And get to, you know, see them do well. And I know as a kid, or, you know, even as I was getting older, I was racing a lot myself, but there was many nights where we wouldn't take my car and I'd go help Dad. And watching Dad race was sometimes more fun for me, helping him make adjustments or work on the car and make that tire choice and watch him win, than it was for me to go out and have a night where I ran fifth or something, you know.
I can't do it.
No?
I hate watching.
Yeah.
Now, see, I enjoyed watching my dad run.
Yeah.
You know, Dad drove the modified a few times. In fact, he wanted to drive it a few times at Brownstown the year he passed. You know, he said, I want to go to Brownstown.
Yeah.
But I got plenty of room. And he said, but I want 2 nights, you know. But I enjoyed watching Dad run more than I did me driving, really.
Was it Bloomington that he drove like not too long ago? Didn't he get in it at Bloomington?
He did, and then
that was like
a car had spun and stayed in the throttle.
Yeah.
And they hit rear ends.
Yeah.
And it knocked the rear end out of our car, you know.
Oh, he was a nervous wreck up there.
And Dad was like, well, I'm done. I tore it up. I said, well, it wasn't your fault.
Yeah, he's down on himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, it wasn't his fault. And that's what happens at the track, because all it takes is for one guy's screw up, and wow, you can really destroy a lot of equipment.
It happened to me at Putnamville.
You know,
knocked the rear end up, cut the leaf spring, just cut it. Looked like a
sheared it off
right in front of the eye.
Wow,
in front, you know, it looked like a clean cut.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, it happens.
Yeah.
And I tried to beat that in Dad's head. No, I'm done. He said.
Yeah.
I want you to tell the story.
Oh gosh.
About, I get a kick out of this. About your dad driving Poodle's car, and they had to go wake him up.
Oh, that wasn't Poodle's. That was Don's.
Don Harris.
Yeah. That was a sweet Owen. When my dad was probably in his 20s back then.
Okay.
United Station on South Walnut Street, across from next to McDonald's on the south side.
Okay.
Used to be a United Station right there. And Joker can tell you the story better than I can, but Dad had laid out drunk all weekend, I guess I should say. I just throw it out there like it is.
Yeah.
So Sweet On had a 100-lapper that Sunday, and they couldn't find Dad, and they found him passed out in the car and got him up there, and he run second, you know.
Wow.
So
with a hangover.
So
yeah,
I don't know. Joker could tell you more stories than I could about Dad back in the day. You know, James Essex, everybody knows James.
Oh yeah, the voice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he puts in articles in the Columbus newspaper, you know, and was just going through, or I was reading some on Facebook here a while back where Dad had actually run second in points in 1979, driving Poodle's car, you know.
And that was at Brownstown, probably. Right. Yeah.
That was at Brownstown, and I didn't know it, and Poodle don't remember.
About it.
Yeah. You know, so it's kind of neat the way James Essex puts that, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50-year history. You know, he does it for Bloomington Speedway, Paragon, Brownstown.
Yeah.
And, of course, you know, Brownstown put Dad in the Hall of Fame and everything. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is.
To see that stuff that James Essex does.
Yeah, he's personally my favorite announcer, growing up and hearing his voice as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And today he gets me excited when I'm watching. You know, it's like when
he'll get you.
I
in
hear
it.
him announcing, oh man,
he'll
there's
get
nothing
you into
better.
it.
He's like the Don Fisher of racing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, that was actually a question I had on my list of questions to ask different drivers, and I don't know why a lot of times I forget to ask it, but, you know, it's a good point. You know, you look at who all it takes to make the sport as great as it is, and whether that be the guy that's preparing the track as far as the surface, or, you know, the promoter, or the people that are working, you know, their tails off behind the scenes,
Right.
but all the way down to the announcers and everyone that promotes racing. I mean, it's amazing how many people have really helped out the sport. And James Essex, he's definitely one of the big ones.
Oh, absolutely.
He's been around it for a long time, and yeah, I remember seeing him over at Brownstown last summer at the Jackson 100, and I didn't talk to him, but he'd come down to the concession stand to get a hot dog or something. We were pitted right next to it, and him and Dad got to talking about old times, so that was pretty cool. I wish I would have, you know, known that they were over there talking, but I didn't know it until he was already gone. But yeah, I remember him being at Brownstown a lot as a child, but it's always great to see him back at one of the home tracks, you know, with the Lucas Oil Series.
He's about the only announcer I know that can get in a dozen sponsors in one lap qualifying.
It's crazy.
You know?
Yeah.
He can tell you what kind of car you're driving and where you're from and your age and everything within after while you're qualifying, plus all your sponsors.
14, 15 seconds. And he nails it. And it never misses a beat.
Nope.
And to know that much about each driver is impressive.
Yes.
Because I wouldn't be able to do that.
No.
He lives it, man.
Yes.
That's his job.
That's exactly right.
He eats it up. He's there all the time, and, you know, he interacts with all the drivers, and, you know, I don't think I'm anybody, and he comes up to me like I'm somebody. And he does that for everybody.
Yep.
And it's really cool.
Yeah, that is. It's a good point. And that's one thing about it, you know, sometimes the guys that are just getting started, one day they might be that next Don O'Neill or the next Scott Bloomquist. So it's always neat to see the way guys are, you know, got their start looking back over the years. And that's really why we wanted to put this deal here together, just to get to know people's stories and see what got them interested in it. And it's always neat. Like a lot of us, me and, you know, Roddy, for example, our father's done it, and, you know, my grandfather done it. But a guy like Bradley, you know, decide, hey, I'm just going to jump in a go-kart one day. His dad never raced, and then look at him, all these different divisions and track wins and championship now. I mean, that's something to talk about. Championships are tough.
Yes.
They are.
I mean, that was the first championship the 9H car got.
Right.
So, I mean, that many years of racing, and then one year you guys just decide we're going to get this done and pulled it off. So that's great to be able to be part of that. I know they're tough to get.
Yeah, it come down to the last night, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Well, it was.
You and Jacoby.
I think we knew we had it, but yeah, we had.
I don't believe it was guaranteed.
I thought the last night was. It was
I don't think so.
That, because.
Well, maybe it was. I don't know.
The
I've
race
slept since
before
then.
that, Jacoby had some issues, and he had like a DNF. So going into the next race, we pretty well just had to show up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was cool. That was something I wanted to check off my bucket list.
Absolutely.
And it just seemed like something always happened. You know, I'd ran second before and third, and I could never just
pull it off.
Yeah. So it was just. Like you said, one of those bucket list items we got to check off together, and it was cool.
Yep, it was pretty cool.
So if there was anyone that wanted to reach out to you guys for sponsorship on the 9H car for this coming season, what's the best way for them to reach out to you guys on the 9H car?
And get a hold of me, you know, Facebook or whatever, you know.
Yeah. That's probably the easiest way, right?
Yeah, it's not hard to get a hold of me.
Now, Facebook, it rules, don't it?
Yeah, get a hold of me or John, you know.
Well, I'm really excited to see how the season goes for you guys. I know John, he's a wheel man, and
Oh yeah.
and you guys got good equipment, and I know he can still get the job done.
Yeah,
so.
he said he had to get back to the gym, so.
Yeah, how old is John now?
Let's see. John is
65.
Yeah.
I'm going to say I think he just told me the other day.
Probably early 40s.
Early 40s. So I'm
Yeah.
46, so I think he's
Okay.
right around,
Yeah.
41 maybe.
Yeah.
42.
I knew he wasn't like a whole lot older than me when we were running together back late 90s.
Well, let's see. I was in high school, and he was when John and I started running around back in high school, and I was driving, he wasn't. So he's just 2 or 3 years behind me.
Yeah.
So 42, 43 actually probably.
Yeah. Well, I definitely look forward to seeing how the season goes for you guys.
Yeah, I am too.
Wish you guys nothing but the best of luck.
I
Hopefully
appreciate
you guys
it.
Have a good season. And is there anyone else you'd like to give thanks to as far as sponsors or anyone that helps on the car?
Man, John's boy Caleb, he had a motorcycle wreck, and so he's going to be chipping in, helping out. But Brad Barrow, he comes out and helps, and man, there's just so many people that does it. My buddy Rick Hawkins, and
Yeah.
of course my Uncle Poodle and Book.
Yeah.
They come right out there and been helping out. So
That's good.
there's just so many people to thank. Marty O'Neill has come out and helped.
Yeah.
And he helped get everything winterized and
That's
everything.
great.
So many people come out and help me, especially now.
Yeah.
So if I missed you guys, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sure anybody would understand putting you on the spot like that.
Right.
And it does get tough to think of everyone. Even on sponsors, a lot of times you got to look at the car or look at a picture of a car to make sure you don't forget anyone. You watch drivers in the interviews after they won a big race, they're all pumped up and excited.
Yeah.
It'd be easy to forget.
Oh, yeah.
B&B Auto Brokers.
Jeff Bland, yeah, B&B Auto Brokers. That's
There you
right.
go.
I just looked at you got a sweatshirt.
Yeah, I got a sweatshirt. Hey, well, this is an old one. No, this is
Yeah.
Harrison Barrow Racing,
Yeah.
back in the day. So
Right. That's great. Yeah, exactly. The T-shirts, sweatshirts, and all that stuff. It does great for the sponsors as far as people seeing that stuff. I mean,
You know it, but you just get on the spot like this, or even when you win a race,
Yeah.
you just, and then I've got back to pits, I'm like, oh my
Yep.
God, I
Forgot.
them, and they helped me so much, and
Right.
you feel terrible, and
yeah, especially Jeffrey drove the car a few times last year too.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jeffrey's drove it. Let's see here. Who has drove the 9H car besides just you?
Clint.
Hudson O'Neill.
Yeah.
Huddy drove it. Marty's drove it. Clint drove it. Clint DeMoss.
Brad,
And, of course, Double B.
John,
John. Jacoby Hines.
Wow.
Kent.
Well, now I'm
Kent,
starting to see why
K-Rob.
people might have thought it was an
You're
open door
right.
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah, no
I
kidding.
didn't realize the list was that
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
A lot of talent.
with me too, like I told Roddy with my schedule and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted them guys to go race. So there was times where Kent drove it, Marty drove it, I drove it.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
Right.
I wanted them to go race.
Yeah.
We did what we
wanted
wanted
the car
to do
on the track.
in 17. So in 18, that's kind of when a lot of that happened
Yeah.
because I couldn't really devote 100% to that, and I started doing the sprint car deal because my heart's just kind of taken me to sprint cars. I've just done modifieds for so long,
Right.
but that's kind of when all that happened. It wasn't like it was kind of a short
Right.
period of time.
Yeah.
there.
Sounds like
But
it.
when you want to go race and you want to be competitive and you've got these guys that's
Yeah.
won a lot of races and
Have that talent.
right, and whenever someone contacts you or whatever, you're like, yeah, let's go race.
The only problem I'm seeing is the fact that we all know how hard it is to get comfortable in a race car.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Brad Barrow's height, and then I'm looking at
Yeah.
Bradley.
And
would-
Kent,
then
Kent, he's just
you
as
start,
tall.
You
I know.
would probably scratch your head at some of the things we've done to,
Okay.
to facilitate that. The
Yeah.
throttle pedal's easy to move, but the seat and
Yes.
everything, it doesn't.
It's not that.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Phone books, towels,
Yeah.
We used a life jacket
and a
one
life
time.
jacket.
Life jacket. Wow.
For Bradley,
Not
yeah.
safe,
Yeah.
but we did it.
That's great.
But you know what? I drove last October.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't seem to bother me at all. I guess I'm right in between Bradley and Double B or Kent, right in between them. So
that's great.
The only thing I had to do after he drove it was we moved the throttle pedal, and then I think we put like some foam under the seat. Because I like to be high.
Yeah.
And kind of like forward.
Yeah, you sit like Joe Gotze. Yeah. That's how Joe sits.
Yeah.
I look at his seat and I'm like, man,
gonna fall forward.
How are you comfortable in there? But
I don't know, and even
we're all different. It's like you go get my truck, you're gonna move a seat. That's the way it is.
Now we switched seats for Marty drove it down at Florence.
Yeah.
And we switched seats because Bradley had to have Steve Kincher's seat.
Okay.
That's
just the way it is.
That's just the way it was. And
that was a good seat.
Now Kent didn't like it.
No.
So Marty's up the garage one night hanging out, and my dad got a porta power out.
Started pushing it out.
Yeah, pushing it out, So we sat there and had a few beers and let that porta power spread that seat apart, for a few hours. And then we'd take it out and
sit down.
Marty'd sit down in it, Well, I better do it for a few more hours.
Yeah.
And an impressive car, or mine anyways, is not easy to get in and out. I don't care who you are.
Hardest race car ever.
Okay.
Impressive. I don't know if you ever got down in one. They're hard.
I haven't.
But yeah.
Tough. Yeah.
But you eventually, no more, of course I'm coming in and out of it because I'm always the one who washes it now.
Yeah, loads it, unloads
it and all that. So I finally got it down pat. Now, being as though I don't have Lefty here.
Yeah.
Somebody else is going to have to do it,
Right.
So, but, it's not easy to do.
Right. Well, that's a long list of drivers that's been able to pilot the machine for you.
Yeah.
I'm sure that each one of them done a great job doing it, and I know.
And it's not easy to jump in a car that you've never sat in before, so you can't expect to go out there,
Yeah.
and set the place on fire, just
Right.
like.
By God, the owner did though.
I never. Well, just you. Look at me,
Yeah.
I drove it once or twice a year, and I may not get to drive again, but I still had fun last night. So
right. Well, maybe if anything else, guy could figure out a good time to go over and do some testing.
Right.
Make a few laps.
I said I may have to get me one of them tractor balls or the steering wheel, knobs. Get out there and try it one-handed if this in here don't come back.
I'd say the guy could at least make some laps.
Oh, yeah.
I think that'd be really cool.
Yep.
Well, I think that pretty well wraps up all my questions for you guys.
Well, I appreciate you having me down here.
Greatly appreciate you coming down, and Bradley for coming down too.
Yeah.
And,
My chauffeur.
Hey, I just hope he don't spin out going home. Sounds like he got a little loose on the way down here.
He scared me a few times. I said, hey, now.
Make him ride in the truck bed.
Yeah.
That ain't no problem.
Well, I hope you got a 5-point harness in that thing.
He's doing this going down the road.
Yeah. You got to get on
time.
It's going to be again the law here for long.
I was checking emails.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it, too. Well, I can't now.
Yeah.
I can't drive with.
It's going to be one or the other.
Yeah, I can't drive with the old Lefty now, so I can't do it.
Well, again, guys, appreciate you guys both coming.
Thanks for having me down here.
It was great, and
thanks for letting me intrude.
I'm sure a lot of people will enjoy it, and don't feel like you intruded. We had to.
I know.
We had to bend and pry on you to get you in here.
Wouldn't have had it any other way, little buddy.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
So, and you played with the engine block there for like a good
absolutely
10 minutes.
This is pretty neat.
We were talking about that, and somehow it ended up in here before the show started. And
took them 5 days. They got a little machine out front. We were talking about it. 3D print.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We print off a lot of different parts we make for a lot of our customers as far as the fab and machining side of the shop. But
no, I don't call that printing. I call that like fabricating.
Yeah.
I know. But
model, model.
Yeah, we do it for a lot of prototyping for different customers, but that there was just something we were kind of curious to see the the quality of it, and it really proved itself. And we have a good time with it. The guys, you never know what we're going to be printing off next, so it's kind of cool. But it does a good job. It's a little miniature LS right there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But, I'm going to wrap this baby
All righty.
up.
Thanks for having me, Levi.
We appreciate it. Well, this concludes this episode of Off the Track. If you have not already, please be sure and like us on Facebook. Tune in next Wednesday night at 6 p.m. for another episode. We've got a website at bluechiptech.net. You can also reach us at 1-812-807-7050 for all your engine needs. Thank you and have a great night.